really well done by him. So let's go over Coven of Shivarra. So this is one of the more complicated encounters in the entire, really, the raid tier. We're actually going to go through the Fat Boss version of the video, just because it's long and extensive, and there's a lot of things going on with this one. So we're going to go through it here quick. So Coven of Shivarra. Essentially, there are 3 bosses on normal and heroic. There's a 4th on mythic, but you only fight 2 of them at a time. This is an encounter where their HP is split between the players, and each boss is doing their own thing. While they're up, and then the other one that is away, similar to the Antoran, what's it called? The Antoran commanders. They're one is sort of like in a pod, or really tormenting the Pantheon here and doing their own thing. The abilities themselves aren't super complicated. I mean, it's mechanics you guys have seen before. It's nothing new, but when they interact with each other, again, similar to the other bosses that we've seen, that's where it's really problematic, right? Like the second boss, the Felhounds of Sargeras, how the abilities interact, that's what makes the fight more difficult. So one of the first abilities is obviously a frontal tank attack, right? If you have the fire boss here, you never face him towards a raid. Same thing with the other ones. There's the fire, there's the frost, and the shadow one throughout the entire encounter. So what happens is the fire one will throw down a little fire blades. You see the little tornado flying around in the middle of the room. Avoid it. It travels around. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, you don't want to be dealing with it at all. So make sure you move away from the little red circle there. He throws the blade. You've seen the same thing in what, Trial of Valor or Halls of Valor. The very first boss that throws his flaming blade around. And now, so while the other ones are, so while the 2 are active, there is always one that is inactive, tormenting the Pantheon, and you're dealing with different abilities here that go on. So let's go fast forward a couple seconds here as we go through what is happening. All right, so this is, okay, they're going to go through this one. Okay, Nura. Okay, so we're going to go through here. So the first one is, I mean, you never want to have the bosses together because they will take less damage, right? There's a damage reduction, so you can't stack and cleave. You do have to keep them far enough away. One of the abilities here, the fire guy, right, of the Mother of Flames, Nura, is she has little red circles, little red explosion. If you have it, don't be near other players, right? Super important, don't be near other players. Fairly simple. She's got the frontal attack, she's got the circles around players, and then she has the little blade storm that she throws around. I mean, pretty easy to deal with, right? You guys have all seen it before. You see the red circles, don't stand near them. They explode, they pulse damage, that's it. The Mother of Night, what she does is, that's one of her abilities right there. So she's going to throw, this entire darkness across the entire room. Well, what you want to do is go to the little safe spots. These little squares, little cubes, quadrants, whatever you want to call them. You run to the safe spots so you don't die. The complication is, obviously, as a tank, you never want to have the boss Nura here facing the raid. So this bear, marked with X, is going to actually drag it back a little bit here so it doesn't murder the entire raid. The other ability that she has is those Shadow Blades, and these Shadow Blades sort of come out. They're going to knock players back. They're hard to see. Again, try to stay spread out the entire encounter so you don't get hit by these blades. So you can see here, you take more damage outside of the... there. You can see the blades actually coming out. 3 little slow-moving blades. They will target a random player, or go out a random direction, and you just want to dodge them wherever possible. They're not super quick like the blades on Avatar. They're actually, again, slower moving. It's not actually slow motion there. And so, again, Touch of Darkness coming out here in a second. Guess what you have to do? You're going to have to go into that little safe spot, right? So, again, the Whirling Saber, as Fat Boss goes over it, you want to dodge that flying sword from the Fire Boss. There is also a tank swap here at some point, so because of the stacking debuff on the tank, there is a point where you do want to swap, and yes, they will be immune for that small little transition, but you still do want to swap the bosses. Again, Touch of Darkness going to happen here. Fulminating Pulse. Yeah, that's the little red circle that we talked about. Right, you want to spread out. Don't be near other players. Melee as well. You don't want to be stacked all in melee like these guys are, because they're going to do a lot of damage. And they got lucky there because they moved in time. As we go through them, their Touch of Darkness. This is, yeah, there's the Shadow Blades there going out. See how they knock you back? That's problematic when it interacts with some of the other later abilities. Again, you can see them going out really slowly. They do a bit of a tank swap there. There's the Blade Storm. Again, don't be near them. you can have most of your melee on one boss, not a big deal. And again, classes that can do multiple damage to multiple bosses makes it a lot easier. This is the Storm of Darkness again, right, where you want to be running off to those safe spots where you take the less damage. I mean, you can have as many players as you want in that safe zone, but again, it'll interact with some of the later abilities a little bit differently. And that's pretty much it for her. I mean, there's a Storm of Darkness again, right? You want to stand in whatever they are. You can see little arrows, little yellow arrows of where you're supposed to stand. They do vary. They're not always going to be the same spot every single time. So you'll have a few seconds to run over to them. This is where you may want to use stampedes as well to run out. But look, you can see there the Blade Storm is running right through the safe spots. Well, it might knock you. You might have to just adjust yourself so you don't get hit by the same Blade Storm. Touch of Darkness here again, and same things over and over and over, and they will constantly transition. One of them is going to go up. See how they're too close? That's a Shivan Pact. They're actually immune to damage, similar to what you've seen on Trial of Valor, Himdall, and Herja, where they're too close and they're purple and they're not hittable. This is the next one here. So this is the mother of whatever her name is coming out. So the fire one goes away. She starts tormenting the Pantheon. And so the Frost Mother comes out. One of the first things she does is she will hit the tank, slow the tank movement. That's part of the reason why you want to have a tank swap. At the same time, you're dealing with this lady's abilities. The other ability you're going to see coming out of the Frost Lady is a big orb here in a second. Here. Well, part of it is... okay, the first ability is a Chilled Blood. So it's an absorption effect. Your healers want to heal it off. Otherwise... if you're not healed, you're going to get stunned in place based off how much is remaining on that absorption. So raid healers, you're going to be quick, Light of the Martyr, Holy Shock, whatever you have to top those people off so they do not get stunned, because you don't want them stunned during these next abilities, right? During that big Shadow Darkness, as well as the flames that come out very soon, or the blades that are coming through. Okay, so we're going to see it cast in a second here. And then the last ability that she has is this big blue Frost Orb we'll see very soon. Which was placed not in a great spot, and you'll see why. As it comes out, here comes the Orb of Frost. So the Orb of Frost essentially slows everybody near it. The closer you are, the more you're slowed. You don't want to be near this orb no matter what. You see how slowly the guy's moving out of that orb? Super slow. So as soon as this orb spawns, get the hell away from it. It is super important, because when the next abilities happen here, when they're tormenting the actual Pantheon, you don't want to be slowed by any of these things. This is what happens. So look, the orb spawned there in the middle. Everybody's still really close because they got a DPS. But then throughout the encounter, the Pantheon will be tormented. So there'll be a fire one like this, where he breathes fire into the middle of the room. If you're still standing there and you're slowed, you're screwed, you're going to die here. You can see the raid frames a little bit on your screen there, dropping pretty low because the guys were all standing in fire. These torments, they can be killed, right? You want to murder them as quickly as possible. So they don't constantly keep casting fire on the raid. Not so much multi-dotting, you just want to go and burn 2, 3 at a time and just focus them that way. So let's say the first 2 on the north side, and then just go out with 2 little groups, DPSing them down. They are their priority, so you're not constantly having that fire on the ground, right? The goal is always to eliminate mechanics and not be and not have multiple mechanics out. And again, you can see here in the Fat Boss video, they say, yes, you can see which of the machinations are actually spawning. You'll see the next one spawning here, which I believe is the electric one, potentially. One sec here. He's going to cast. Yeah, so this one is... oh, yes, these are their big casts. So these guys are the ones that you want to burn down, where if they finish their cast, they're going to heal to full. So again, you don't want to multi-dot these guys. You do want to just burn them as quickly as possible, because you can see here they're going to heal to full and back to full there. So they only have like 50 million life, again, depending on the size of your raid. Focus these guys down, because they will be casting those unearthable spells, doing lots of damage to your raid. And again, there's one more there. The range should focus it down while the melee focus on the other guys here. So that is one of the various tricks to deal with. This one is the Torment of Golganeth. This one, essentially, you don't want to be near anybody else, right? So if you're melee, you're really all stacked together. This one's going to do lots of damage to everyone else. Stay really spread apart for these guys, and then murder them, right? Murder those little ads. Those guys are the priority, right? They're going to shoot their lightning for anybody that's too close. You saw there, really quickly, that the 2 guys, watch what happens here, right? They want to hug, and you get shocked, right? It's a lot of damage. So you do want to kill these guys so you're able to deal with the mechanics together. So for instance, this mechanic plus the Shadow of Darkness, right? The one where you actually have to stack in those little platforms, those little safe spots. That's where it's really going to get complicated, right? Because yes, you have to be in these small little enclosed spaces, but you also have to be a few yards spread. So you want to deal with these guys as they spawn as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you will get shocked. And nobody else is close right now. They're all fairly spread, which is excellent. And they're just murdering those guys before they go back to the mini-bosses. And they're really the most complicated one, I guess the trickiest one, not this one, this is the Flames one. Again, you can multi-dot these ones. Doesn't matter, they're not going to be able to heal up. Boomkin's great, dot them up as much as you can. But DPS these ads first, because right now you can't use the middle of the room, right? You're sort of confined to which areas you can go with. Again, if it's the fire debuff, right, the flames there, plus you have to move for the big storm, you're not going to be able to get through various safe spots. And this is the last one, the Torment of Norgannon. So when the Norgannon's being tormented, you guys have seen the same mechanic, or very similar on Vault of the Wardens, right? You've seen it on Cordana. You've also seen this with Spirit Kings back in Mogushan Vaults, where you have a number of things that are moving across the room. You can't really do anything about them. You can't kill them, but they can be CC'd. So if they attack you, they have like no HP. But if they attack you, essentially you're going to die, right? If you run into them, you're going to see little purple things under their feet. You can't stand in that purple crap. But these guys, they can be CC'd. You can knock them back, you can slow them, you can trap them, you can do whatever you want to these guys so they stop moving. They're going to go across their entire room, and there's 4 different lines of them coming toward. You can see here there's a bit of a knockback, which is great, because now they've created themselves a path. So what you want to do, and again, the bosses are on opposite sides, right? Because otherwise they're going to they don't take any damage. You can't all stack them in one spot, right? So you'll take one boss on one side here. They're going to knock back the ads. You're going to create a path for yourself. So here they're going to see them move. There's a bit of a tank swap, right? They're linked. This guy is going to go around. Good job, little priest. Now they're going to split the bosses apart, hopefully. The big thing is, because these things are CCable, right? You can see there's a paralysis on him. This guy can't move. Awesome. He's locked down the entire time. Yes, you can do any kind of hard CCs on these guys as well, so depending on what you've set up with your group, that's what you want to do. The biggest thing is, once these guys touch a player, right, they're going to murder them. So what you don't want to do is throw a Typhoon or a knockback on top of your raid, killing your entire raid. So be very careful with those knockback CCs as to which way you position them. After some time, they will be DPSable, so you'll be able to kill them. You can see they're going across the room here. This is where a knockback may be bad, right? So the one right in the middle of your screen, if you knocked it back, you might kill some of your friends. So they're going to go across here and dodge. And again, there are little gaps, right? There's plenty of gaps for you to actually dodge them. This is your priority, not DPSing the boss. So once they make it across here, you can actually kill them. They don't have a lot of HP, and they will not make it back, right? They pretty much have a 1 HP. Hit them once they do their full path across the room, and you're set, right? So it's how these different abilities interact. You may have, for instance, the Torment of Norgannon plus, the Frost Orb, right? The one that slows you. That's going to be a huge pain in the ass, right? Or you may have the Frost Orb with the ones where you have to, to really spread, right? And if you're standing too close, you're all going to get shocked. So that's pretty much it. You can see here, again, this is flames plus safe spots, right? Safe spots from the Mother of Night and Torment of Khazgaroth, right? He's the flame dude. So you're DPSing them down so you can actually move around the rest of the room and you have more real estate to move. That's essentially it. I mean, every couple minutes it does alternate as to which torment happens, as to the ads coming down. They rotate through, but really a lot of it will just be practice and dealing with the various combinations of the boss. Again, single target for the most part. If you're a Boomkin, awesome, dot everything up. Any classes, range are going to do really well on a lot of these encounters. Frost Orb there spawns on somebody. You can see the Warlock using Burning Rush to get out, which is exactly what we want to do, because again, the closer you are to that orb, the more it's going to slow you. So that's it in a nutshell. What does the Golgoth one do? That is the lightning one. I believe the lightning one where you're not able to be next to other people, otherwise it will shock you. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean, they all have shared health pools. Warlocks here are great. Split that damage. You do really twice the damage, right, to those players. These warlocks are playing Destro at the time. Even tanks do want to be in those safe spots as well. But that's pretty much it. Orb of Frost coming out here again, as well as these guys, right? So you have Orb of Frost, what I talked about, plus these guys that are coming to kill you. So those knockbacks, really important early on. You can see there's one trapped, so you actually don't have to deal with them. Fantastic. You'll always have that safe spot open. So stuns, you don't really want to grip it, because if you grip it onto you, you will die. Knockbacks, stuns, CCs, roots, slows are going to be huge on this to really make it. You can see here, sometimes you have to backtrack, and that's okay. You can see this guy is just running around trying to dodge everything, and that's totally fine. But let them expire, and eventually they will move on. So that's it's fun in a nutshell. Lots of different mechanics. This one's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with, but it is aptly the, 9th boss in the raid, right? For those of you that like council fights, Illiterate Council, same kind of thing here. It'll be pretty difficult in terms of, the bosses there. So that's it in a nutshell. Yeah, any questions about that one? What about Blood DK Gibson's with the grip lineup putting it together? Potentially worth trying. We're going to see really tomorrow with their normals and heroics as guilds do them. I'll be redoing all my Coach's Corner videos on a boss-by-boss basis, and Midgets will be nice enough to highlight them and upload them to YouTube with the new changes and how things actually work. So unfortunately, I didn't do much PTR testing this time around, but you will see brand new encounters or brand new videos for all these bosses, including Agrimar as well as Argus when it happens. So there you go. Thank you guys for an awesome Coach's Corner. This was part 2 of our Antorus prep. We're not going to get around to part 3, I think, potentially this weekend, depending on how Argus and Agrimar go. But that's it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. Be nice to each other, and as always, live your life heroically.